is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
Are you ready to travel? We got all the travel buzz here on Smart People Travel Wise with Alvin Adriano on PHLV Radio.
Greetings, mabuhay, and good afternoon to everyone watching today. Welcome back to Smart People Travel Wise. I'm your host, Alvin Adriano, CEO of Travel Wise International, and I'm really excited for today's show. It's a beautiful fall day, and I'm so excited for today's show because we often talk about where we travel to, chat with other travel suppliers, but we don't often talk about the different ways people can travel. The audience is often overlooked, but not today. Today, we'll dive in and talk a little bit more about accessible travel. Now, before we get started, if you're just tuning in, as a reminder for all of our viewers, if you're watching this live, please hashtag live. And if you're watching this on the replay, hashtag replay. Share where you're watching from so we can acknowledge all of our viewers, especially you. And don't forget to catch our show on Facebook and YouTube, or you can listen to the show on Amazon Fire, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Or even better, you can download the app PHLV Radio. It's available on all iOS and Android devices. Now, travel has always been my passion, and the love for showing people how to discover the world, the beautiful places and around it, has something I've always done. From cultural shrines, temples, beach destinations, and natural wonders. However, sometimes we forget how others have to travel. Not everyone travels the same way, and today we're going to talk about accessible travel and how it's changed during the pandemic. When we speak of accessible travel, oftentimes the public doesn't think the needs of this certain niche. These world travelers are not only ambitious with their travel plans, but they often travel together. Around 61 million Americans live with some type of disability, and according to the Open Doors organization, 27 million of them generated $58.6 billion on travel in 2018 and 2019. This demonstrating that they play an integral role in the travel industry's economy. Being able to identify their challenges during this time has been important to minimize risk and ensure a quality experience. On today's show, I bring Karen Leonard, the travel industry ambassador for Special Needs Group, a company devoted to empowering travelers by streamlining the use of accessible travel. Karen Leonard has worn several hats in the travel industry for the last 15 years. She was recruited as a sales and marketing coach and trainer for home-based travel franchise owners and independent contractors due to her years of experience building a home-based business. During her tenure of nearly a decade, she's created successful training programs that brought millions to her company's bottom line. She was sought out to make presentations to large groups of travel advisors at national conference, as well as in-depth small group sessions. She was solely responsible for onboarding industry professionals, working with a team of over 500 advisors. In addition, Karen has also experienced the travel industry for years through the eyes of a travel advisor, working with a variety of clientele, as well as vendor partners. Upon joining the Special Needs Groups, Karen brought her expertise in working with individual advisors and vendors to the task of getting S&G's mission heard. She has participated in conferences, speaking opportunities, trade shows, coaching, and other initiatives to increase awareness of the important work of Special Needs Group. So please smash those heart buttons and give Miss Karen Leonard a well-deserved thank you for being here today. Hi, Karen. How are you doing? Oh, you're still on mute. Let me see if you can unmute your mic.
There we go.
Awesome. How are you, Karen? How's everything going?
It's going great. Thanks so much for having me, Alvin. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. We were talking earlier about the differences of climate. So I know you're enjoying the AC right now.
Yeah, definitely. Coming from sunny South Florida, it's pretty nice. We're actually enjoying a little cool front. It's about 87 instead of 92.
Oh, that's so awesome. So, I know I read your background, your bio, and you've had so much experience in this travel industry. Can you just talk a little bit about your background and how it's prepared you for this type of pandemic or these types of situations that we're dealing with now?
Sure. I think, I've had the pleasure of working with travel advisors from all over the world, not just the United States. But my background has always been in training, coaching, and teaching, not just in the travel industry, but that's where I refined it, if you will. And really, it's been a pleasure for me to work with travel advisors to help them get through this pandemic, because there are so many things that they can do and that we can do in the travel industry to make sure that it's still vibrant. So as it's starting to take off more and more, people are starting to travel more. We're going to be hit eventually. Once we do get the pandemic under control, we're going to be hit with a major explosion because people are just so tired of being home and, seeing the same four walls, whatever, So, just keeping in touch with clients and making them aware of the changes as they happen. It's a very fluid travel marketplace right now, very fluid as is, everything else in the world. Changes can come on a dime. So that's my biggest tip to everyone is just stay in touch with your contacts, stay in front of them, maybe throw in a little old school here and there, especially with a little bit of older clientele. I mean, when was the last time you got something in the mail and you're like, oh my gosh, somebody actually took the time to mail this to me.
Yep.
So stand out a little bit, but, stay in front of people. That's what I think my background has brought to me, being able to pump up travel advisors during this hard time and also people who want to travel, all the consumers out there that I know are ready to go.
Yeah, I know. I mean, everyone is so concerned and, worried about the fluidity of travel restrictions. I know you mentioned it before. It's important that I just deal with the uncertainty because we never know what's going to happen. So, we talk about just normal people traveling every day, but how has accessible travel changed or evolved during this pandemic?
Well, it's been an interesting journey because, travel basically shut completely down for a while. So I think it gave people an opportunity to kind of review things like hotels, especially cruise ships. It gave them an opportunity to review and seek out maybe more of the accessible travel market. Because this marketplace, as you probably know, doesn't really travel as often as they'd like. Even though you said in your opening, they were responsible for $58 billion in travel, they have over $220 billion in discretionary income. So a lot of people may be watching today who might know someone or have someone in their family or even themselves have a special need to know that people can assist you in traveling and really discover the world. Or even if you've slowed down because of something that has happened in your life, maybe you've had a new diagnosis or something like that, to really know that there are services like ours that exist and travel advisors that are willing to help. Really kind of, I want people to know that they don't have to worry so much. I mean, as long as I would say, as long as you're staying up with the place that you want to go or the cruise that you want to take, staying up with their safety precautions. Hopefully you're vaccinated, that's truly important. I know it's a big controversy now, but to me, I think if you want to travel, you really should do that, get vaccinated. And then stay in touch with whoever plans your travel for you, your travel advisor. If you keep those things in mind, I think you could have a very safe travel journey. And the other thing I would recommend to people is that you get travel insurance just in case, because it is so fluid. You never know. I mean, the way the vendors are working right now is if they have to cancel due to COVID, typically that's not going to be your responsibility. But if you get sick with COVID, God forbid, if you get sick with COVID, then that could come on you. So you want to make sure that you're covered. And as far as accessible travel in and of itself, how it's changed, to get back to that, as I said, I think people have really, at these locations, destinations, cruise ships, have taken a step back and they said, okay, we want to be more inclusive. We realize that the marketplace is aging. There's things that come up. Also, people are being diagnosed earlier with different situations, different accessibility diseases or things that limit mobility or other things. Being diagnosed because our medicine is so much better. How can we attract them? How can we make it accessible for everyone? And I think that's the main difference that's happened during the pandemic. I've been hearing a lot from advisors that I do work with that specialize in working with special needs people. And that's what they're coming back to me and saying, these resorts are really kind of being more open and interested.
I think you brought some great points. I think, when we talk about like opportunity wise, everyone, well, now that we have social distancing, every destination, every tour operator, cruise ship are finding ways to, create space. They're also limiting the amount of capacity. So this allows people who have physical, challenges, a lot of opportunity because they have the more space than ever before. And then also with the innovation of contactless payments, and then being able to open doors now, I mean, you really get to control your environment, which again empowers a lot of these people to really travel, because this is the first time like there's not as demand, which gives, like when I went to Istanbul, there was like no one there. It was
right.
You can walk around wherever you want. The cruise ships are like at 25 to 50%. So like there's no one here. It's so easy. So,
yeah.
We talk about the rebound being so sharp. I think there's going to be a lot of accessible travel being sold in the next couple of months because, again, limited occupancy levels, limited amount of people traveling. This is a great opportunity for them to see the world without hassling with over tourism.
I agree 100%. I mean, I just booked a couple of trips for myself over the next year and a half or so. I'm going to Costa Rica. I'm going to hopefully get to the Galapagos, keep our fingers crossed. But I'm saying, this is a great time to travel. I agree with you 100%. This is really a great time to travel. If you have, like I said, pay attention to your vendor, your travel advisor, and, any kind of health warnings or, like the mask mandates and things like that. Know what you need to do. But if you're vaccinated and you take care of yourself, you mask up, the odds of you running into an issue is very slim.
Yeah.
And, get your travel insurance in order. There's no reason if you're a healthy person and you're vaccinated, there's no reason why you shouldn't be traveling right now. There's no reason. And the vendors all agree. I mean, they're all open pretty much.
Yeah.
There's Europe is opening up again. So people are, they're thrilled with what they've been able to accomplish with their safety precautions, and they want people to come and enjoy their destinations. So I think it's a really good time to travel.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think people are starting to be more comfortable with the protocols. They understand what the risks are, and then they assess, what can I do and how can I protect me and my family. We don't often talk about accessible travel, but are there innovations or are there developments that this market are still searching for right now, saying to make it more, I guess, accessible friendly?
Yeah, there's always challenges. We're fortunate, you and I are fortunate in that we live in the United States. We have laws in place, which are still, there's still room for improvement. There's always room for improvement.
Of course.
But, if you go to other places like Europe, the infrastructure there and almost everywhere else in the world besides the United States, the infrastructure is so much older.
Yeah.
I can't just single out Europe, but, especially in Asia, let's talk really much older, but just don't have the laws in place. So there's always challenges. But I think, if you work with a great travel advisor who's willing to kind of explore that with you and understand, for example, there may not be at the hotel that you really, really want to go to.
Yeah.
You're limited in mobility, say, for example, or you're limited with oxygen use or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Have an elevator everywhere, so maybe you can't stay at that hotel, but that doesn't mean that you can't go to that destination. Yeah. So you have to be willing to be a little bit flexible, know that, everything's not going to be perfect. There are always things, for example, we actually teach travel advisors to query destinations, hotels, and cruise ships to find out exactly how accessible their cabins are, their rooms are, their properties. We want to make sure that you are getting the best service from your travel advisor as well. So, there may not be say a bed height. Maybe you're a kind of person that needs a bed lift, lift. So you have trouble getting out of bed. So you need some assistance. Well, that needs to go up under the mattress in order to be stable. And the mattress may be one of those kinds that has the box on the floor. You know what I mean? Which they thought was great because then people wouldn't leave stuff behind under the bed, right? So there's always little challenges that are going to be there. I don't think it's up to outside of the United States. It's up to each individual proprietor, owner, board, whatever of nation and the hotel to make those changes. But as what I'm seeing and what the changes are in the marketplace is that the travelers are becoming more vocal. Okay. Which is great. Yes. Because they are actually talking to management when they're in destination and saying, hey, obviously I have some challenges and this and this and this would be a great thing if you could change that.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think
the renaissance that I'm seeing is that now people are being more aware and acute in listening so that they're going to make those changes. I believe, I'm hoping, so that's where the changes have really come. It's not so much technology. It's not so much that for accessibility, but it's just that travelers are starting to travel that have daily challenges and making their voices known, and they're collectively making their voices known as well. So, there's more and more conventions and conferences where people are in front of hoteliers and things like that, where they can, hey, these things need to change. And, I'm feeling a renaissance coming through that those changes are coming down the pike. They won't be tomorrow necessarily. We have a long way to go. Yeah. But it's good. It's really good, positive.
I think you brought up some good points. I think people are now being very vocal. I think communication has been one of the biggest highlights of the pandemic because we need to streamline communication because the fluidity and then the uncertainty of just travel restrictions changing, entry requirements changing, health protocols changing. So I think you're completely correct with us continuously trying to evolve and make sure that we can communicate properly. So how important is effective communication with the clients, and how has your company been able to continuously keep that communication open with travelers and I guess travel advisors or the travel community?
Well, we do work a lot with travel advisors. We also work directly with consumers. We don't have a travel advisor and they're pretty savvy on booking their own travel or whatever. I do recommend a travel advisor. But communication is so important, especially when you're working with someone who requires equipment. We do all kinds of things, not only just special needs when it comes to health things that you might think of. So in that term, we do mobility things, wheelchairs, scooters, things like that. We do oxygen needs. But we also do, as I mentioned before, patient lifts, hospital beds, but we can do things like, we've delivered organic baby food before. We've done cribs in certain locations and things like that. So we do a lot of different kinds of special needs. We also have a few things in place for people that might have a service dog. So when you're dealing with those kinds of items and those kinds of services, it's so crucial that the communication is on point, especially when you add in all this fluidity that's going on. You may have to say you were going to have a scooter delivered to one hotel, and now that's not going to work for you because they've had to close because now their staff has COVID or whatever. But you still want to go destination, and they're putting all their reservations over at this hotel. So now we have to communicate that well to that hotel. Maybe we've never used that hotel before. You know what I mean? Yep. So it's very, very important that you stay in touch with whoever plans your travel, or with us if you're not working with a travel advisor, to make sure that your equipment is delivered properly and that you know where to get it from and how to let us know if you have any questions once you receive it and that kind of stuff.
Awesome. That's great. Oh, did you have more?
Well, I was just going to say, I think, communication has really opened up, and how we continually do branch out or do strengthen that communication with the travel advisor and their client is to make sure that the travel advisor is up to date. So we have certification, we have newsletters that go out, we have emails that go out with any kind of new information that we might have to make sure that that advisor is up on the latest of what we know.
I'm sure they're pretty busy emailing people all the time.
Yeah.
I know. For me too, I'm always constantly looking, before it used to be like highlights of Yahoo News or whatever. Now it's just looking what places are going to open and what restrictions are going to be required. So yeah, a lot of communication is so important these days.
Yeah. I mean, just for example, in the cruise industry, there's the Seattle season, and it typically goes through the summer, starts in May and goes through October, the middle of October. Well, that's a couple weeks. So now it's going to be shutting down and all those ships are going to be moving to new locations.
Yeah. So
understanding where they're going to go, especially in the pandemic, because not every port is open to every ship, especially in the United States yet. Where are they going to take them? What are they going to do? And even though that's just 2 weeks away, we don't even know still 100%. The cruise lines haven't shared with us 100% where all those ships are going to go. So it's a constant logistical fun time.
Yeah. But those are the things that we don't see from, and again, to hear it from a different perspective, just the amount of planning, these things take years of planning, months of execution, and now just switching whenever anything happens, just like that, moving a 166,000 ton ship from Mexico to Alaska, no problem.
Yeah, we'll just take care of it. You won't even know, right? And that's what they do well, because we don't know. Yeah. I mean, the logistics of the meal planning, the provisioning, and all of that stuff, just all of that stuff, the staff, making sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing on top of all the COVID stuff, just doing that on a whim. I mean, not on a whim, it's never on a whim, but for example, we had to scramble when the cruise lines first started saying, okay, we're going to sail out of Nassau, the Bahamas, and out of St. Martin. And those were never embarkation ports before. So we never had equipment there. So we had to get all this equipment together and ship it over there.
Oh my gosh.
To make sure. And we only had a couple weeks notice. Mm-hmm. So, to make sure we had an agent there that could handle it for us and get the reservation system down with them and make sure they understood the protocols, because everyone who handles our equipment goes by our protocols, our cleaning protocols, our sanitation, all of that stuff. It has to be exactly the way we want it because we know how to do it right. And so that was fun, but that's what you do because we do it for the guests. We want to make sure that they can, especially with the accessible market, that they can go when they want to go.
And I think, we're getting more into like the, the mission of special needs group, talking about what their services that they provide. We talked a little bit more about the products and destinations, but for all of our viewers, can you, recap or just kind of summarize what the services are that special needs group does and how they can alleviate some of the pain points for accessible travelers?
Sure. Let me start with a broad statement, and that's our mission statement, which is delivering an accessible world. That's what we live for. We want to make sure that anyone who has a special need that we can help with gets the opportunity to go wherever they'd like to go, because you'd be surprised. People with, different kinds of needs can do a lot of things. There's people that are in wheelchairs that go, I just lost, the parachuting.
The parasailing.
Yeah, parasailing. Thank you. But there are people that do that, and I have a beautiful picture of a gentleman doing that in a wheelchair. He's just a really crazy guy. He goes out and does all kinds of crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. Just so you know, we operate in 217 metropolitan areas in 70 countries. And we, in all of those areas, can provide mobility equipment and in some places, oxygen needs. Mm-hmm. The oxygen trend, just so you know, as an aside, has become more so towards the portable oxygen units, those units that people can carry with them all the time. And so that has actually made it really easy for clients to travel because they're not having to lug big tanks around and stuff like that. So that's basically what we do. And in that case, what we do is we ship it to their home so they can travel anywhere they want with it, on an airplane, whatever. because that's not a danger, since it's not liquid oxygen, it's not reserved oxygen, it's just pulling it in from the ambient air. It's danger. So we can do those kinds of things. In certain locations, we have recliners. We just rented a recliner to a gentleman who just had back surgery.
Oh, okay.
Sent it to his home. He lives in Louisiana. We sent it to his home so he could have it for his recovery. And so he's going to have it for a couple months. So we do all kinds of different kinds of things. We try, as there's so many variables involved that it's hard to be specific about anything. But like I said before, we can do, we have contracts with American Sign Language interpreters, someone who's deaf who can speak the American Sign Language. We have contracts where we can send someone out with a group of people, and then they can make sure that that person understands everything. We also have light kits. So, for example, if you're on a ship and there's, you know, how they have those announcements all the time, you have a light kit that kind of, and then you can see it on the TV. It notifies you that there's an announcement. We do Braille service printing for people in certain locations. We do menus and other advisories and things like that in Braille for people. So we try to, we really try to service a wide variety of special needs. We even do strollers and things like that in some locations for people if they need that. There's two things that we actually don't work with, and it's only because we don't have the trained medical personnel to accommodate. One is dialysis. We cannot do anything with dialysis, although there are companies that do. And then the other thing we support, but we don't actually do anything directly for the person, and that is autism. We do not have the trained personnel to go along with an autistic family so that they can kind of relax. But we do support a company called Autism on the Seas, and they do cruises for autistic families, and they do have the personnel so that the standard caregivers, the parents or whomever, can go and relax a little bit, and they have a trusted human being there that understands how autism works. They're certified, they're trained, whatever. But we support them in that there are times when you're speaking with someone with autism and they need special toys or they need special foods or just to keep them on an even keel. Deliver those things to ships for them, for their cruises. But other than that, I always tell people, never say no. Don't ever think it's not possible until you talk with us. One of the more outlandish stories I have to tell you is that we had a gentleman who was a client of ours, and he had a special needs dog. The dog also was special needs. It could only eat a certain kind of dog food that wasn't very common. I think it was more common here in the States than anywhere else. And his owner was going on a cruise, transatlantic cruise to Italy. And I don't know all the details, but somehow he was not going to have the dog food when he got to Italy, and they couldn't find it there. The travel advisor that worked with him couldn't find it. The cruise line couldn't find it. We found it elsewhere in Europe and got it to him in Italy so that he and the dog could continue their trip.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I say it's really difficult. We do our best to try whatever we can do. I mean, we've been known to do some crazy stuff. We had several scooters that were hooked up in customs going to Mexico, and customs would not allow them to come through. They were being whatever, So my owner bought several scooters in Mexico and got them to where they needed to be. And the guests never knew what happened.
Oh, wow. I mean, again,
we really try to do whatever. And that's what I'm telling you. There are companies like us out there that will do whatever it takes to get you going where you want to go. Now, granted, sometimes it may not be feasible financially for all parties involved. We will research it, come back to the guest and say, this is what we found, this is what's involved, this is what it's going to cost. And if the guest says yes, we do it.
I think that's the experience that people are looking for now. I mean, it's now outlandish to think that things are going to cost a lot more because of the amount of preparation, safety, hygiene protocols. We're all anticipating what the future of travel will be, but it will be an elevated experience. It will be a lot more clean, a lot more accessible, a lot more contactless. So, those are things, I guess, priorities that have become more evident now in the pandemic. And I think people are willing to pay more for these type of services.
Yeah.
For accessibility, I wonder now what other innovations will come, because what we still need is standardized common health protocols in all the destinations. We mentioned Europe and Asia having older infrastructure, not being able to take on accessible travel. I hopefully in the future we'll see more development and construction of I don't know what they'll come up with, but anything for us to see, again, more space and more space to get to these destinations.
Well, the cool thing is, in just my travels over the years, I've noticed that newer, even like I was in Amsterdam a number of years ago, and seeing the outside of downtown Amsterdam, it's starting to be built up a little bit more, and all of those new structures are more accommodating. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit difficult to talk about, let's put in an elevator into our 1720 circa building. It's going to be difficult, but yet, like I said before, it's just a matter of educating yourself. Mm-hmm. Challenges you are going to face if you have a special need. Mm-hmm. What challenges are you going to face, and being prepared, going in with your eyes wide open. That means that you can enjoy the destination just as much as anyone else. Yeah. They have a lot of places have virtual tours. Like, for example, if you can't get upstairs into a particular area of a museum or something like that, mm-hmm. A lot of places have virtual tours that you can take, so you can explore what you can and then do a virtual tour for what maybe is not as accessible for you. Yeah. The other thing that's kind of interesting that I think is happening in my limited knowledge anyway, is that while the infrastructure maybe can't change as much, the attitudes and the accommodations physically can change. So it seems to me like there's more room and more changes being made in what a staff member might be able to do for you, mm-hmm. as opposed to just leaving it to, we can't do that at all. So I've heard of places where the staff is willing to, for example, carry someone mm-hmm. area that can be then used with a wheelchair or a scooter or something like that, from, like over a bridge or something like that where it can't be done. That's still fairly new in what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. But, those are ways that things can change that can still help people that have accessible needs, that maybe the infrastructure can't be changed. Yeah. Or easily changed. So those are things that people need to ask for. There's no reason why, if you say have a mobility issue and you want to go to Venice, okay, where there are tons of bridges, you need to ask, how accessible is this? What can I do? And maybe what you do is figure out how to get on a water taxi and go by water taxi around the island, as opposed to trying to get up and over the millions of bridges that are there. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's the most important thing, is educating yourself, talking to a travel advisor who has that education and that drive to help you succeed in your travel plans.
Oh, I totally agree. I think, the crisis is going to be a true opportunity to see a whole wide range of creative ways to do things. Everyone, the playing field has now been leveled, where everyone's trying to find a new niche or new way to attract tourism, being more accessible, having more, I guess, changing their unique selling proposition. People are so excited just to go to these destinations, but they also want to make sure that there's evidence of protocols and safety, these new priorities that have come up. And I think, the fact that you're saying, just be vocal about what you want, people, destinations will learn and hopefully not make the same mistakes, and then rebuild tourism in a different way, attracting new audiences and new markets. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I totally liked what you said about leveling the playing field. I think that's true. And I think this is an opportunity for people with special needs to really raise their voice and make things happen, because if you basically we're starting at ground zero now.
Yeah.
We really are.
Every
You know?
destination is just figuring out who do I want to bring? And like we mentioned, they make up a large chunk of the tourism dollars. These are things in the future when we talk about sustainability, where destinations are really going to manage what brand they're going to be in the future, So I'm really excited to see how destinations are going to take this opportunity to redefine who they are. But with that said, Karen, is there any final thoughts or tips or advice you want to share with viewers about accessible travel in the future?
I would just say, don't let your situation define who you are as a traveler. Explore anything that your heart desires, because it may not look exactly like your able-bodied neighbor or friend. It may not be the exact same experience, but that doesn't mean that you can't experience any destination you want to go to, pretty much. Just keep your mind open, keep your voice loud, and go out and explore the world.
Oh, great advice. I know everyone's really excited to get out and explore the world. No matter who you are, where you are, what situations, our minds are just amped for creativity and to absorb information. So I know everyone's excited, and I can't wait to bring you possibly back on the show and just how things are changing, because this is a market that I definitely am so interested in because of the opportunities that they have that they never had before. So thank you, Karen, for being here. Thank you for sharing some insight and experience. And again, we'd love to have you back on the show.
Well, thank you, Alvin. I truly appreciated it. And, it's so exciting to chat with you for a little while, and hopefully everyone will get out there.
Thank you so much. Take care, Karen.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So accessible tourism, it enables all people to participate and enjoy in all different types of tourism experiences. More people have access needs, whether it's related to a physical condition or not. So accessible tourism is the ongoing endeavor to ensure tourist destinations, products, services are all accessible to people, regardless of their physical limitations, disabilities, or age. This includes publicly and privately owned tourist locations, facilities, and services. And as we continue to innovate, these challenges will continue to burden some travelers and travel suppliers, but suppliers like special needs groups are here to help alleviate some of those worries. We absolutely love the solutions that they address and love to work with targeted vendors addressing specific traveler concerns. We always encourage all of our viewers to reach out to TravelWise International and allow us to help you plan a great adventure or journey amid the pandemic. We can work with you and all of your needs and preferences and plan a seamless experience. We appreciate all of the viewers and listeners who've been able to join our show. Without your support and views, this would not be possible. So we are thrilled to be able to share our knowledge and experience with all of you. Our Smart People Travel Wise airs every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time and 3 p.m. East Coast time. So till next time, Smart People Travel Wise.
Just like a friend from back home. This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio. PHLV.